Hey Peyton, nice to see you again on this beautiful day. And this time with a quote from the Dao De Jing again. I love that one. It's number 9. Here is how it goes. Fill your bowl to the brim, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt. Chase after money and security, and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. Peyton, how does it feel like to do your work and then step back and then to trust? What kind of ideas come to mind when you listen to this?
Such a helpful reminder, and one that the Tao Te Ching delivers so beautifully in so many ways that ultimately, no matter what we're doing, no matter how much effort we're exerting, no matter what path we are on, the universe is ultimately outside of our control. And so, what this is pointing to is a way of being of, yes, fully do your work. Yes, fully pour yourself into what calls you forward. Yes, fully apply your heart and your mind and your strength to what you're called to apply it to. But also accept, also have faith in the way things are. Also move and flow, but be flexible. And the admonition to work, step back, or don't chase after money and security, or let go of needing people's approval. This is a different relationship with the things that we're tempted to be attached to. And this is reminding us that when we operate from a place of attachment, when we operate from a place of clinging, for example, if I'm clinging to money and security, my heart will be clenched. And a clenched heart doesn't have the potential for flow and creativity, for finding novel solutions, for making the hard things easy, for having a greater vision that pulls you forward toward something amazing. Same with if you're attached to people's approval, it ultimately does hold you back. You, first of all, are going to be people's prisoner if you're attached to them liking you. It will kind of subject you to their whims and their emotions, and people can sense this. Ironically, by letting go of the need for people's approval, it comes so much more naturally and with total freedom. And letting go of the need for money and security, we can unclench our heart and open ourselves to the possibility of abundance and creativity. And if we are continually sharpening our knife, if we're continually trying to cling and trying to effort, struggle upon struggle upon struggle upon struggle, we can accidentally close ourselves off from the source that is truly the power that we need to lean on for the most difficult things in our life, whether they're with people or whether they're with the world of money and security. And so doing our work, fully being here, fully flowing, pouring ourselves in, applying our full energy, being good stewards of the abilities and the situations that we find ourselves with is totally what we're meant to do. We're humans. We're here for a reason. We're not just meant to lay in bed all day. But can we pour ourselves into this and then step back, pour ourselves in, and then trust that the universe is forever outside of my control? It might go how I think I want it to go. It might go against how I think I want it to go, whether it applies to money and security or whether it applies to relationships. And can we fully trust and follow and allow things to respond however they will, allow things to move however they will? Once again, follow what we are commanded to do, and then hands off. It will do what it's meant to from there. How do you think about this way of being? What pulls us out of this? And then when we find ourselves pulled out of this way of being, where we are chasing after money and security, or where we are people's prisoner because we're attached to their approval, how can we recalibrate and come back to doing our work and then stepping back, finding serenity?
Beautiful, beautiful take on that, man. Thanks for sharing. What I think about it is that this way of being is basically within us because we evolved as creatures of nature. We needed to trust that we find sources of food, sources of shelter for the night, And we found that also in community. And in community, we also shared our work. And some people were better collectors, some people were better hunters. Some people could prepare the campfire very well, and the others could level the surface to be able to sleep better. So this is this entangled web of our own history, of the history of our ancestors, that is basically within these notions of what the Dao De Jing says there. I really like the hint to that we are a community and we are creatures of community. And if we care for others' approval, we will be their prisoner. There's a sweet spot in between. If we don't care at all, we won't be their prisoner, but we will also not have community. We will also not have a campfire. So I like this notion that there is this balance to strike when it comes to the approval of others, when it comes to doing your work for the community, and when it comes to taking your ego out of the equation. Do your work and then step back means do your part of the work that benefits the whole. And then step back means don't take too much credit for it, because if anybody takes the whole credit, then the whole system gets out of balance and there's not a community anymore. And there's a notion in that you also can overdo it. If you sharpen your knife too much, then it gets blunt. You overdo it. If you read only books, then you won't have conversations. Yeah, we will have conversations with great minds who are long dead. But if you don't apply it at the other hand, and if you never try to apply it, then all the knowledge goes to waste as well. And it's blunt because it has no ability to cut, because there's nothing where the knife could cut through. And this is the thing that comes to mind. And you asked how to recalibrate if we wander off this balance. I think it has a lot to do with our identity and with our ego and with our blind spots. This calibration in terms of, yeah, our identity is important to find our place in the world, to do our work, to do our part, to find stuff which we are good at and do that. And it's also important to step back and release that identity from being too self-important. And this calibration you can find in a great team, say sports. If you have a basketball team, I get reminded of Sacred Hoops by
Phil Jackson.
yeah, where he immaculately describes how a whole team, when they train to just focus on something bigger than themselves, when they are training to focus on the whole, on the team, on every move, so that the team goals and that the team moves the ball into the net, is a whole different way of being. That also means that any one individual is less important than the whole. And if we take a step back and look at ourselves in the web of society as a whole, it is also very important to find the thing that you uniquely are good at doing and then do it and then step back. That's how beautiful art gets done. How do you think about the recalibration? How do you think we can apply ourselves that way?
Great question. I think one element of, so why do we keep sharpening our knife until it blunts? Why do we keep filling the bowl until it spills? I think that a part of this is driven by a need for control and a need to control how we do or don't feel, a need to push away certain feelings. And so, for example, one example of in my life of sharpening my knife until it blunts is when I get so caught up in some situation I'm in and what I do or don't want to happen that it sort of occupies my mind nonstop. And I don't fully wake up and experience my senses in the now. And in myself, if I'm really caught up, this can lead to me basically thinking about a situation, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, and this bleeding into even when I'm sleeping, and then waking up 2 hours before I'm meant to wake up. And then the situation arises on my mind because I'm out of balance. And then, very well, the following day, I'm so much less effective because I lack the sleep, I lack the clarity, and there I have kept sharpening my knife until it blunts. And why do I do this? I think there's at the root of it, underneath the surface, underneath what I think is going on, a part of me is attached, and it can be attached to getting something or keeping something or protecting something, or it can be attached to not feeling some certain way. Maybe not feeling fear or not feeling grief or not feeling vulnerability or not feeling shame or not feeling anger or any one of these things. And the fragility of being not willing to feel these things can compel us to try to control everything so that we never have to feel them. The antidote to this is not to get better and better at running away from the things that we don't want to feel. It's actually to face them, to open ourselves to, oh, hey, grief is here. Let me feel grief in my whole body, in my whole system. Oh, hey, fear is here. Let me feel fear in my stomach, in my system, in my chest, without covering it up, without intellectualizing it. Allow the energy to fully arise, to fully be present, to flow through me, to consume me for a moment, to move through my whole energetic system, and then allow it to pass when it is done, or vulnerability, or whatever these emotions are that we're so tempted to struggle against, to push away, or to ultimately try to control our whole world so that we don't have to feel this. This is what causes us to be a lot of times so attached that we just cannot stop sharpening our knife until it blunts. We cannot stop filling our bowl until it spills. I think that expanding our capacity to experience whatever is needed to be experienced. If we need to experience
Mm-hmm.
loss, can we open our capacity to experiencing loss? If we need to experience shame, can we open our capacity to experiencing shame? If we need to feel fear, can we open our capacity to feel fear? Not by running away better, but by actually opening our heart, opening our body, and allowing the energies to fully course through, to potently emerge, to flare up, and to express themselves however they need to express themselves. In this energetic expansion of capacity, this radical acceptance and opening to ourselves, this opening to us arising, to our feelings arising, however they want to arise, this can be a foundation of anti-fragility where we see that we can flow with these things. We see that we can feel these ways. And if I see that I can do without because I felt it or whatever, then I may not have to chase after money and security so hard if I'm not obsessed with preventing the things that I fear from ever happening. I may not have to need people's approval and be so attached to what people think about me if I know that I can feel shame or isolation or aloneness and actually it can come, it can pass, and I have the capacity to feel however it needs to be felt. Once that's the case, I'm no longer anybody's prisoner. If I'm willing for them to feel any way they want, if I'm willing for them to feel aggression or anger or blame or to go away or to want to shun me or whatever, if I'm fine with all of that happening because I know what it will feel like and I'm open to feeling that way, I actively practice feeling that way when it arises on its own, then I don't need to control their emotions. And so I can act authentically and spontaneously. I don't have to scheme ahead on what I'm going to say or how I'm going to make them feel a certain way or how I can prevent them from seeing things in a different way. They can be them and they can express themselves however they need to express themselves. And I know that I'll be fine regardless of what goes on. And so from here, we can do our work and step back. We can flow spontaneously. We can allow our full energy to emerge and pass through, to pour ourselves into what's in front of us, to feel all of these different emotions. Let the storm be here when it's time to storm, but when the clouds part, the sun can shine through. And then we can have a bit of lucidity around the whole dream that's going on, our whole stories about what's going on. We can wake up and see that it's all just passing. It's all going to change. Things are going to come, things are going to go. I'm going to feel this way, I'm going to feel that way. And I'm going to fully engage with this human experience, this human life, these human relationships. And I'm going to radically accept reality. I'm going to let the universe do the universe's thing. And I'm going to step back and experience serenity with and within even the storms. How do you think about finding this serenity? What is the serenity like? And what is a sustainable serenity, given that the waters are not always going to be calm.
Beautifully put, man. I love that you mentioned to raise your capability of feeling everything and welcoming every feeling. And I guess raising the negative capability, like you mentioned, is a path to feel the serenity because you re-level much better. You rebalance yourself and find your own homeostasis much faster because there's much more space within yourself in which the energy can expand into. And if you have like an inner space which is widened, this whole energy which comes at you, which flows through you, can dissipate and is not trapped. And a lot of trauma also happens because we trap the energy in our body, in our system. We do not allow ourselves to let it flow through and dissipate again, because this is a law of the universe. Energy merges and flows, and energy changes its form into different forms of energy. So we shouldn't just hold it back. We should allow it to flow through. I guess this is one element of it, of finding this serenity, and this requires the training and the mindset that is to be trained to, yeah, to be okay with shit coming at us. We can deal with it because we know we already dealt with so much stuff, and gaining the confidence for ourselves as well. And also, it is about self acceptance. How on earth can we expect from ourselves to deal with something in a manner where we can be okay, however it will turn out, if we constantly put hate on ourselves? That is not a good way, because we will tighten up, we will close down, and we will try to defend ourselves from ourselves even, and then trapping this nervous energy will be much more likely. So being okay with who you are, with what you think, with feeling shame, with feeling that we are beginners, which is also like not not a very easy thing to stay in, to feel like a complete beginner, because we want to have the confidence which is grounded on status as well, because it's ingrained in our being as social creatures. But then taking a step back and giving away status you once had, and giving away competences where you've been comfortable in, is hard to do. And this refers back to being okay with who you are, even as a complete beginner. And then we can remember we always needed to learn the stuff we know now. And it always worked out to the point to be at a level of knowledge where we are now. And then we can also trust again, because we obviously learned so much. We learned to walk, we learned to talk, we learned to love, we learned to lose. And this is how it goes, isn't it? We are here, and then we have a set of experiences, and then we need to let go, and then we go ourselves again. And the serenity comes with being okay with us being a part of the whole, with us taking ourselves a step back and then realizing it is not about us. Nature doesn't optimize for the individual. Nature and evolution optimizes for the whole. And being a part of it and doing our work and having the bigger perspective in even in terms of the cosmic insignificance therapy, reminding ourselves it is not that important that we are partaking in this or that we say this or that, because zoom out 100 years and nobody will ever remember that you said this one thing at this particularly embarrassing point in time. So we might as well just enjoy the moments that we are given, enjoy the connections that we have with friends and family, enjoy our mobility as long as we have it, enjoy our autonomy as long as we build it. And because one day we will not be able to go to the toilet by ourselves anymore. This is part of life, and this is part of how our life can unfold. So The serenity comes from being okay with reality as it is, and then dealing with it and doing the best we can to the best of our abilities to move forward in a graceful manner. What do you think about the serenity part? How can we cultivate it? How can we increase it? How can we recalibrate?
What you just shared reminds me of another verse in the Tao Te Ching where it says, when you realize that you will die and there is nothing you can hold on to, there is nothing you can't do. And I do think there is a radical freedom to be found in this cosmic insignificance. Zoom out to the vantage point of the Andromeda galaxy and look upon the Milky Way. Zoom way in to see if you can find this one little solar system with this one average sized star and these 9 planets going around it, and this one rock that is circling around it at just the right distance with just the right chemical composition in the atmosphere. Zoom way in to whatever continent we are on, see that 70% of this rock has water on it, and we happen to be on this chunk of land. Zoom and see this little monkey running around trying to figure out and control the whole universe. And you see that it's kind of funny. You see that it's kind of cute that we're trying to control everything, that we're trying to grasp onto our sense of dominance over our own path, that we're trying to resist feeling ways that we're inevitably going to feel. We're resisting experiences that we're inevitably going to experience. Sometimes people will like us, sometimes they won't. It's outside of our control. Sometimes we will have money and security, sometimes we won't. That's life. That's reality. We'll pass through this. We'll pass through this. We'll experience all of these negative emotions and tons of positive ones too. But this is one big funny comedy, and we are kind of confused the whole way through and just trying our best, stumbling around as little primates, trying to navigate the world of cars and spreadsheets and systems and language. And we don't know what we're doing. We're just naked and afraid, running around on a rock, trying to do our best. And within all that, I think in abandoning and letting go our sense of ultimate self-importance or power or taking ourselves seriously or whatever, after we abandon that, we can then move on to recognize that actually within this stupid, confused little monkey over here, there is an eternal essence. There is a light that is within you, that is within me, that is within even the people that are our adversaries in this path, even within every conscious being, and that this is eternal. And that in recognition of this eternal source of creation and light, our awareness, our consciousness, the divine spark within all beings, we can see that there is an intrinsic worthiness. There's a worthiness that's there before we have money and security, or even if we lose money and security. There's a worthiness there that doesn't depend on what anybody thinks about us or what anybody says about us, about our reputation or about our not feeling shame or about our sense of importance or about anything we've built. It has nothing to do with any of those things. Those things are all totally temporary, and we can never hold on to them. We will lose all of that. Even if we gain a lot of it for a little primate, we're going to give it all back, and it's not going to last. This primate will die. Nobody will remember me in 200 years. But the light within me is divine. The light within all beings is divine. The light within us all is worthy. And if we recognize this worthiness, this intrinsic divine image within all beings, we can turn around and recognize that in ourselves. And we can recognize that we don't need any of this to go a certain way for us to be worthy. We don't need any of this to go a certain way for us to be enough as we are, for us to be divine in our true essence. And seeing that in everybody else really can help us see it in ourselves. Seeing it in ourselves can also help us see it in everybody else. And so this, I think, is a core element of why we don't have to care about people's approval. We don't have to chase after money and security. We don't have to clench our heart with trying to control all of reality and trying to push away feeling certain things. Feelings will all arise. We're going to get the full gambit, the full buffet of the human experience here. And it's all okay. It's all exactly as it's meant to be. It's all unfolding, and it's all a part of the whole. And we can't separate out this little part from this little part. But what we are here to do is whatever we're here to do. We're here to fully engage. We can pour our energy in, we can move forward, and we can have faith in the unfolding of reality. We can trust, we can recognize that this is all temporary. We're just floating around on this space rock. And so we might as well recognize the beauty that's within all of us and within the world along the way. And so that's my intention for this week. I have so many things going on in my life where I'm so tempted to want to control, to want to not feel this way, to want to make this thing happen, to want to make sure that this thing doesn't happen. I'm really tempted. And in fact, I do pretty often sharpen my knife until it blunts, just get obsessed and try to work harder and to try to scheme harder, to try to control the future, to try to get to the bottom of it and figure everything out. But that's not what I'm here to do. That's not ultimately realistic. It's kind of a fool's errand where I'm weakening my power if I continue this to the point where I get out of balance. And so let me find balance. Let me find faith in the path that I cannot see more than 6 inches in front of my face. I can know from experience that I'm capable of experiencing whatever needs to happen. Whatever will happen for me, it will be fine. Whatever will happen for me is meant to be. And along the way, I'm already completely worthy. I'm already completely whole. The divine spark is within me and it is eternal and it will outlast this silly little primate that's walking around confused on the space rock. And that same light is within you and every single person that I run into, even the people that are challenging, even the people that seem to be in the way of the money insecurity or that seem to be in the way of the people's approval or whatever. Everything is already exactly as it's meant to be. And we can pour ourselves in, we can do our work, and then let us step back. How about you, my friend? What are your intentions this week?
Beautifully put, man. My intention for this week is recognize the beauty and the divine light within each of us much more. And then holding back when I see it. When I
Yeah,
see something particularly wonderful, I want to tell it and share it with the person or feel it with the surroundings, with the environment, wherever. And I never want to withhold a compliment when I have one that I see. So this is my intention for this week. Because if we withhold what we see, what is particularly wonderful or beautiful, and don't share it with the person which encounters us, we missed an opportunity to brighten our day and the day of another person. And we missed the opportunity to kick off a spiral of positivity in our life and others. So, and viewing it from that lens is kind of our duty to share this positivity if we find it, if we see it, if we recognize it. And that's what I want to do this week. What you said before, the other Dao De Jing quote reminded me of one quote from Janis Joplin where she said, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. And if we recognize that in the long haul, we got nothing that we can lose because we have to give it all back, we might as well just share what we have, even if it's just a smile or a compliment.
beautiful. Here's to freedom, my friend.
Here's the
Great
freedom.
talking to you. Really enjoyed this conversation.
Very
I'll see you in the
much.
next one.
See you soon, my friend.
Peace.
Peace.